You have Trump blowing up everything in Iran. So let's see how this pans out. I'm not really sure if this is going to be a big, huge event, but as of now, whatever we can see, it's looking like oil should be spiking. That seems like the likely scenario. Let me just go ahead and put on the poll because that's I like doing that. Let's also go over what all's been happening so we know exactly what has actually been transpiring here and how do people feel about whether we're going to be having a larger strike at play or no. Right, that's going to be the important part. Anyways, let me see full scale war. You guys think there's going to be a full scale war? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think tensions will rise, but I think eventually peace will come through and it'll win. I think that's going to be happening at this moment. I don't really think it's going to be that much of an issue as much as people are making it out to be. Let me do these few things and then we can go ahead and see what all has been happening. So, as of now, it is looking like oil should be spiking anywhere between 5.5% to 6%. We have the weekend markets in terms of at least knowing what might happen. So, the weekend is looking like you'll see a 1% drawdown. Let me actually go and see exactly what it is right now. At I saw it about half an hour back. It was about yeah, so it's about 1.3% down. We're off the lows, but who knows what happens, right? It depends on Iran retaliation for sure. So this is more like an emergency live stream more than anything. But I really think that the oil shorts are going to pop and then they're going to fade, and then eventually it all depends on whether Iran decides to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. So that's going to be the big one that's there. I'm tired of talking about the Strait of Hormuz, but it is the current talk of town. So we will continue doing that for a bit. From whatever I can see at this moment, I don't really think it's going to turn out to be too much. It's basically Trump's way of saying that, hey, listen, I've got you guys. I can hit harder next time. Make sure you don't enter into this thing where you are going to make this a protracted war. I would like that rather than having to keep bombing the living daylights out of you people. I think the Iranians also did say that they evacuated their people before the strikes. Now, I don't know how much of that is actually true or what's happening there. That could be their way of saying that, hey, you know what, we knew you were coming or any of this crap that's there. More importantly, we're looking at the markets, right? So we're down about 1.32%. So that is not looking good. But I would say that's actually better than what most people are expecting. Most people would have expected a fall of over 2-3%. I've been saying this on every live before as well. Please do look at the price of oil. If the price of oil doubles, it goes over $100, you will see a recession come through. And if it stays there, obviously, and that seems more likely than usual, especially with the Iranian strikes that have taken out. Now, what I'm looking for is the fact that yes, Trump has hit back on Iran. What is Iran's retaliation? They have a few things that they can do. They have come out and said that every American citizen and every military asset in America is currently a target for them. Anything in the Middle East is a target for them if it has the word America written on it. Basically, that's what they're trying to say. So at this moment, I'm looking at a few options. One is the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. One is looking at the other scenario as to how is it going to play out with American forces. Are they going to bomb American forces in the Middle East? And three, are they going to just retaliate by hitting back at Israel? As as horrible as it sounds, if the only thing that they're going to do is hit back at Israel, the markets wouldn't care and the markets would continue heading higher. So we will have a pop on oil, we will have a fade on eventually, I'm guessing. And I do think that the Nasdaq will head lower on open, unless and until there is some form of a diplomatic thing that happens in the next 24 hours. Right? We still have about 23 hours for market to open. So as of now, it is still likely that you will enter a scenario where Iran decides to retaliate. If they really want to hurt the world, they will go down the Strait of Hormuz. They will shut it down. That's about almost 90% of Saudi Arabian oil exports goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Something that I've been looking at when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz is that most of the oil that heads to China goes from Saudi Arabia. That goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's best friend at these times would be the Chinese, the Russians, and the North Koreans. Now, keep the North Koreans aside, keep the Russians aside because they have their own things going on. But the Chinese need their oil. So the first call I think that President Xi would make to the Iranian leader is that do not stop my oil from entering my country, because then he would be having enemies on all sides of the world. I don't think he wants that. I don't think they want regime change. I don't think even America is saying that they don't want regime change at this moment. So it is not looking like it is going to enter into something which is going to be super large at this point of time. Let me just go ahead and put this onto Twitter as well, so everyone is then available to join us as well. Go ahead and drop in and say hi, and go ahead and vote as well. It is going to be a fascinating weekend, but I think things should simmer down by the time we reach market open. That is my belief. And all these fears of World War III and all of that, I don't really think that's we're even close to any of that. I think what the Iranians also realized is that, okay, so this is fascinating. Look at this news, right? This is news coming out right now. Israeli media reports that military will halt strikes on Iran for the time being. So this was pretty much decided. It is clear and cut that America and Israel worked on together, and the Israeli media now reporting that the military will halt strikes on Iran for the time being basically says that they want peace. They're looking at peace. They're looking at things working out in their favor if the Iranians are ready to stop. Remember, I've been saying this before as well. Netanyahu came out and said what he needed from this war. He didn't look for regime change. That's not what he clearly said. He said if the Iranian people want it, they will do it. What he said is they have two goals in this. One, they want to kill out all the nuclear facilities, and two, they want to finish all of the ballistic capabilities that Iran has. They pretty much cleared all of the nuclear abilities. It's over. All the ballistic missile abilities are pretty much done and dusted. So Israel's finished most of its objectives that it had with this war. So there is nothing that they currently need to continue going unless and until they're faced with retaliation. The Iranians, on the other hand, have been hit hard. What are they going to do? Maybe close the Strait of Hormuz, maybe do a few other things. But I think there is going to be diplomacy that comes in now, because the Iranians will do something for face saving. They will call up the Americans, they will call up the Israelis, they will do whatever it takes through diplomatic channels to make sure that their people know that Israel has been hit, America has been hit. They're going to bomb some place in some base in America, in the Middle East, which has American soldiers, and everyone would have been evacuated already. And they would just tell them that, hey, listen, we're going to hit here, just make sure nobody's there, and that story ends there. As of now, this is important news. Israeli media reports that military will halt strikes on Iran for the time being. That is huge, because I would not have expected that to happen unless and until that was an order given by Donald Trump to the Israelis saying, hey, listen, I did this for you. Do not strike. Do not go and hit these guys again. Let me see if we can have peace for once here. So this is using force in order to get peace. That is exactly what's happened. Okay, for everyone that's new here, before I continue, we do this live every day at about 30 minutes before the market opens. So go ahead, subscribe, make sure you join in tomorrow. Also, we're going to do a live when the market opens. Most likely, I'll do a pre market as well. So you'll have a pre and a post market both going through. So make sure you subscribe. Anyways, another thing that's currently breaking is the Iranian Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, threatens America should expect greater damage and blows than ever before. Now, this is what I'm saying is face saving. This is what they're going to be doing. They're going to come out and say, hey, we're going to bomb some place somewhere, which might not have anybody, but we need to keep our people in check, and we need to let our people know that we fought back, because that's the only way that you don't get a regime change, right? So that is what's currently going on. So the fact that the Iranian leader himself is coming and saying they should expect, which basically means that they will attack, but they pretty much have nothing to hit back at, in all seriousness. So it's not going to be. Anyways, we have some news that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, is going to be holding an 8 a.m. press conference at the Pentagon on Sunday. So that will give us some information. U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson says the president made the right call and did what he needed to do. There's been increased security presence around the US Embassy in Baghdad, and that apparently happened at 3 a.m. this morning. So that was right around the time when they were expecting a large action, obviously, to get done. Now, all said and done, there was very good amount of deception when it came to the Pentagon, making sure that B-2 bombers were heading to Guam, and everyone thought that it was going to be heading there and not exactly heading to Iran. Somehow that deception worked, and looks like we are going through uh, a scenario wherein these things have worked out. So I actually do believe that you are going to see a large form of diplomacy play out. So I know for one thing that if there are issues, the question is where do we see the bottlenecks outside of approx 3 million barrels per day of Iranian exports? Given today's strikes, I doubt they can shut down the strait. Oman does not want this smoke. Iran's air defense is shot down. Another operation praying mantis in the strait does not signal long term disruption. So, unless someone else jumps in, this feels short term. I mean, OPEC can adjust a few things here and there, but I doubted that this is going to be something that Iranians are going to be thinking of. It's not something that they would purely be looking at because I don't really think it is in their favor to look at these things at this moment. So I think we're good to go. Let me just try seeing if I can get away from the sun. Yeah. So at the moment, I would still think that diplomacy prevails, security situation improves, and things eventually play out. It is again remember that the Chinese do not want the Strait of Hormuz to shut down. I've been saying this before as well. The Chinese do not want the Strait of Hormuz to shut down. If they don't want it to shut down, these guys are not going to shut it down. They have no more friends. Okay, it's clear that Donald Trump just posted 4 minutes back as well. Any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you. So he's just pretty much coming out clear and saying that hey, don't do this nonsense. I don't want you unnecessarily starting shit which you can't control, and I will bomb the living daylights out of you. That is exactly what he's doing it. Let me go over a few more reports that have been happening, so you guys would then be able to understand what exactly is what I'm looking at. Trump says the Middle East bully must make peace now. So yeah, sounds like a plan. Anyways, let me try seeing if that shit is better on that side. Yeah, this is just better. Okay, so let me just get my drink. Yeah, so he says that the Trump says the Middle East bully must make peace now. He says the strikes were a spectacular success. Iran's facilities have been completely obliterated. Future attacks will be far greater if they don't make peace. Anyways, that's just his art of a deal, which seems to have worked this time. I think the whole taco thing is now out of question because he's been pretty much, he's just called it and it's pretty, he's bombed the living daylights out of them. I'm pretty sure this is going to be just like the way they did it with Qasem Soleimani when the IRGC commander was killed. It turned into something where it was clearly it was a scenario where yes they did retaliate, they bombed some small place somewhere which had nobody and life moved on, right? So that is something to keep in mind. I actually do feel that this is just the end of it. This is just rumors of shit that's going on. Maybe you get a spike, maybe I would buy into that spike. If there is a spike on oil, I would, and a fall in the equity markets, I would go and buy everything on the equity markets that I could. Trump calls Iran number one state sponsor of terror. So let's see. PNW says read Matthew 24:6. Yeah, that's about the war, the rumors of war and all of that. You should just keep it aside and move on with life. That, I agree with that. Everything passes eventually, right? And if we do have nuclear war, trust me, we have better, bigger things to worry about in this world than YouTube and equity markets. So till the time we don't have any of that, It's something what Buffett came out and said, right? The world only ends once. So until it doesn't, you keep buying stocks. It's plain and simple. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu comes out and says, President Trump and I often say peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. So, yeah. Iran's Atomic Energy Organization says attack on nuclear sites violates international law. We will not allow the development of this national industry to be stopped. Okay. I have no clue how they're going to be going back on this and trying to build it again, because I think if they do know that they're going to get bombed again. So Trump says Iran must stop immediately or they will be bombed again. So that's the threat that's there. I think the biggest news for today post the strikes is the fact that Israel has come out and said that we're going to stop strikes on Iran for the time being. That is a very bullish scenario, because trust me, it could just lead to the end of the war at this moment. A 1 week, 2 week war, whatever we had, it could end it completely. Because my larger worry in all of this would be, does Israel continue with its strikes? The fact that they've come out and said that they're going to halt means diplomacy is given a chance. It means that peace at the end of all of this will go through, will come through, because there's nothing that Iran can do at this moment to hurt both Israel and Iran. It can only hurt itself. So the Americans know that they can finish this in minutes. The toughest thing that they had to do was blow up the Fordo nuclear factory and all of that nuclear facilities that they have there. But let's be honest, that 6 of those bombs were used and they decimated the living daylights out of that place, right? It will not continue. This is my bet. This is how I position myself to make money in equity markets. I had a question yesterday itself that says, what about the morality of making money when there's wars and all of this going on? I made this very clear back then as well. Till the time nobody pays my taxes and till the time nobody pays my health bills and all my other bills, I need to be here to make money. And this is what it is. This is the lane that we stick at. Geopolitics is not our lane. Making money in financial markets is our lane, and that's the space that we'll stick in. And we're very good at it, so we'll continue. That being said, my lookout in all of this is, if tomorrow you have a fade on oil and oil starts heading lower, remember this is your chance to buy equities. This is your chance to buy stocks. This is where you're going to be seeing the largest move in stocks coming through, and possibly a bottom before we start heading into new highs. Now, this is something that I have been looking at. This is something which is clearly visible to me. It is going to happen. You don't need to sit there and worry about, oh, what if they strike back? What if Iran hits back? What if Israel hits back? What is all this? Dude, Israel's coming out and saying that we're going to halt our strikes. Do you understand? Think about it. You could have had peace in Gaza, you could have peace everywhere, and Israel did not stop for 2 years. You're getting them stopping right now in a week and a half. You think the Iranians are not going to take that? It is in their interest to take that deal at this moment and continue, because remember, they can continue selling oil. They can. Iran has a lot of oil to sell. Iran can sell crazy amount of oil and make money. So they need to stop with this, and they're not looking for regime change. Remember, everybody's been thinking about this. What if they kill the leader? What if anything happens? They can't. It is stupid to do that. He will die a martyr. One. Two, he is the leader of the entire Shia community globally. Why on earth would you want to kill an entire leader of the Shia community when all that you're worried about is his nuclear power? And that is over today. There is no more nuclear power. So you rather have him there sitting without nuclear weapons than remove him and have the whole Shia community in the world go against the Americans and the Israelis. It doesn't win you anything. So start thinking logically. I've been saying this before. Two reasons why I don't think this is going to be too large a scenario. Strait of Hormuz is not going to shut down purely because of the fact that the Chinese need their goddamn oil. The only way they get their oil is through the Strait of Hormuz. Saudi Arabia is 90% exports. I think Iraq or Oman's 96% exports for their oil also go through the Strait of Hormuz. Who is the largest buyer of Saudi Arabian oil? It is not the Americans. The Americans have enough oil for themselves. Who's the largest buyer for Iranian oil? It is the Chinese. So the Chinese are eventually going to be selling their oil, buying their oil from Iran. That is going to come through the Strait of Hormuz. So Who's Iran's best friend in this time? The Chinese. So there's no reason for them to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. It is just stupid if they do that. Plus, they're going to make enemies all over the world. This is their time to try making a few friends that they can. They're just going to have more and more enemies. So that, according to me, is just absolute nonsense. Anyways, so I have a poll out there which says what happens next after Trump strikes Iran. We still have a lot of people going with the flow that you're going to see a full-scale war erupt. My bet is still on the peace wins and a proper de-escalation. Maybe because I'm already biased and I have equities already. But my bet is this is the end of it, and it is not because the nuclear strikes happened. It is not because the Iranians have not yet retaliated. It is because Israel has stood down. The fact that Israel says that they're not going to continue attacking is my cue to realize that this is going to be protracted. It might tensions might rise a little bit here and there. People will talk a little bit here and there, but it's eventually going to lead to a story that we might not be speaking about in the next 3 months. So that I'm pretty certain about. Trump says this cannot continue. There will be peace or tragedy for Iran. There are many targets left. We will go after other targets if peace does not come. Same story, right? If they don't back down, they know they will have nothing left. Forget about their ballistic missiles, forget about their nuclear facilities, all of that. You won't have anything left. And when you don't have anything left, remember these guys were able to enter and bomb 3 places, finish it, take all of their guys out. And this is the toughest mission. And they've clearly come out and said that this was their toughest mission. Now, what happens if this is not that? The other missions are so much simpler. So, and they can do that in minutes. So, what's stopping them? They had Tomahawk missiles that hit as well. So, Iranian state television says entry and exit points of Fordo nuclear facility have been damaged in the US airstrike. So at the moment, I would still suggest don't go down and believe anything that the Iranians are saying at this moment because they need a face saving as well. So again, that's just the way it's been currently. Netanyahu thanks Trump, says the US president acted with a lot of strength. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much destined to be that this may or may not have happened if the Iranians were not ready for diplomacy. And I think the way he played the 2 week card, where he said that I'm giving you 2 weeks, I think that was his art of a deal, which he thought would work even with the tariffs, but it didn't. But here it did. So kudos to that and the fact that you can put an end to all of this. Hopefully it does end. But if you can, then this is phenomenal that it does happen this way. Trump says there are many targets left. Tonight was the most difficult one. If peace does not come, we will go after other targets. Right? Yeah, a lot of people are saying now, where is the? It's taco time, right? I mean, who knows? Like, let's see now whether this actually turns around. This is the Iranian state TV that comes out and says that every American citizen or military in the region is now a target. So I'm still saying they will retaliate, but I do believe that it's going to be a small time retaliation. It's not going to be something that is going to be so scary that it's going to lead to the Americans having to bomb them outrightly again. See, these guys have lost their main leadership in the IRGC. They've lost most of their military generals that are there. They have lost their nuclear facilities. They've lost their ballistic armor. They have lost their missile facilities. Their air defenses are pretty much wiped out. Why on earth do you think are they going to want to fight a war now once they have lost everything? Right? And a lot of people that believe, oh, you have nothing to lose, or you have nothing to lose, and that's why you'll fight more. No, they have oil. They have money. They're worried about their supreme leader not being in power later on. That is something that they're worried about. So it's not like they have nothing to lose. They have nothing to lose when it comes to military prowess, which is why they're not going to go into a war. And even if they do, now for me, I know that even if they do go into a full fledged war, it's a week or 2 weeks and this game is over altogether. And that might be your largest buying opportunities that you could have ever had, right? Let me go and see what is currently happening. Yeah, so the US 100 is currently down 1.27%. My bet is Monday evening by close. If we do not have retaliations and escalations, we will go back into the green. Because I said this last time as well. Go back and study the Iraq War. Go back and study wars in general. Declaration of wars and periods when the wars de-escalated because the market started believing that there was going to be an easier victory, a quicker victory, and a protracted war led to markets moving higher. Markets fall in anticipation of the war. They do not fall once the war has begun or finishing. It's how it's always been. It's happened during the Iraq War. Go back and check in time. The only worry I have in all of this is the price of oil. Does it sustain above $100 when and if it does go there? If that happens, you will see a weakening US economy, a weakening global economy, because every recession in the world has pretty much had, other than 2020, has had oil doubling. So even if you go back to 2008, you go back to 2000, you go to the tech crisis, you go to all of these, you've seen oil doubling. And every time that oil has doubled, it has led to the consumer pinching back and not spending money. Because at the end of it, right, I mean, electric and all of that's great, but you still need oil. Right? Now, America would be the least affected in all of this, is because America is an exporter of oil, so they don't have to worry that much. But remember, the price of oil is determined by the oil that trades for all of us on our trading view and our charts, right? It's the same oil that eventually gets priced at the pump. The higher the price at the pump goes, the less amount of discretionary money that US consumer has. So as of now, you're looking at, let me actually go and tell you also what's happening with oil. All right. Oil is up about 9% at this moment. So just keep in mind, I mean, this shit could get ugly when it comes to oil being up about 9.2, 9.5%. So that is something that you should actually look at, because that way things could get right. So Iran has come out and been official that fuel ships will not pass through Europe through the Strait of Hormuz. Right? They've made it clear. According to them, Iranian officials are clear that the Strait of Hormuz is shut. So I don't really think it's up to them anymore about these things. But it's, I don't really think that we're going to be seeing too much of an issue when it comes to anything like this. As of moment, this current news that we have, Iranian official says that fuel ships will not pass through the Strait of Hormuz. So this is current news that we have. Let me just go put this into the chat as well. So you guys have that come through as well. That's going to see oil spike a lot more, possibly 10% on market open. It's going to see the volatility index spike even more, because now people are going to be starting to think that would America enter a recession? If that's true and America does enter a recession, will it be something that can be stopped? Because remember, if inflation does pick up and you do see the price of oil is heading up, there's no rate cuts happening, because now you're going to see you have to deal with inflation, right? So you could have emergency rate cuts at this moment just because they want to bring the price, the maybe some form of a consumer demand back into the scenario. But if oil heads up, this all bets are off. You don't seem to be winning any of that. That's not going to happen. So as of now, very close to 10% up on oil, right? Keep that in mind. This could get ugly if the Strait of Hormuz actually does shut down for good, right? I actually think this is just absolute nonsense, because remember, if they do shut down the Strait of Hormuz, they do attack some of the ships. Them saying fuel ships will not pass to Europe through the Strait of Hormuz, I don't know how much of that I can believe, because if that happens, remember, the world will go against these guys. It'll be a matter of 24 hours to 48 hours before all of this is solved. They will have enough pressure from the whole of Middle East. They will have enough pressure from the whole of the world in itself to come down and tell these guys, stop it, otherwise we will bomb the living daylights out of you. They will become rubble. Okay, as much as I don't want to see peaceful people die in this world, if you stop oil from traveling, if you stop global trade, no one's going to support you. No one. It doesn't matter what world, what country, where you're coming from, it's not going to work out for you. Plain and simple. Right? So I'm just going to go ahead and also try putting in some of these latest posts if we do get something, uh, so that you guys can see it on the chat for anyone new that's joining in. I'm going to be doing a pre-market live as well tomorrow, so you guys can join in for that as well, possibly in like another 24 hours from now. So you should get that as well. So go ahead, subscribe, and you can then join into our lives as well. As of now, Trump isn't planning any additional strikes and wants to propel Tehran back to negotiations. So Iranian official clearly comes out and says that part of Fordo nuclear site was attacked by enemy airstrikes. So that's ended. I'm still trying to see if I can find more information about Israeli airspace has been closed. So I mean, if there is shit that goes down, it's going to go down in the next 24 hours before the market opens. Whatever has to happen will happen before the market opens. You will know what is going to happen eventually by then. So I'm going to keep a watch on oil, see what's exactly going to be happening with oil. As of this moment, it's up about 9% on oil. So it is something to keep and watch. It is something that I would be looking at because I've been saying this in the previous lives as well. There is a direct correlation between indirect inverse correlation between the price of oil and the price of equities at this moment. The higher oil goes, the lower the equity markets will go. So if you're seeing a 9% rally in oil, you will see the equity market open lower, and I will be the first buyer in that because I have always believed that if there are wars or if there are situations that do happen this way, you will see eventually diplomacy play out. World War III is not going to happen. Stop worrying about all of that because if it does happen, it's nuclear war. Party's over for all of us. Equity markets and capitalism is not to worry. Nuclear dust is what we worry about. Okay. And most likely we will not remain to worry about all of these things. So until that happens, like the world ends only once, might as well go and buy. Trump shares post saying Fordo is gone. Okay, let's go actually see if there's more stuff going on here. So this was the tweet, right? Let me just go ahead and say it for everyone new here that's not here. Is we have completed a very successful attack on 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iranian airspace. A full payload of bombs were dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, I mean, the fact that he's saying that now it's time for peace after him dropping bombs, I'm guessing that's not going to go down too well. But let's see. Uh, Israeli airspace closed. Donald Trump. I don't know. The only next post he has is the flag of the United States. So as of now, everything looks pretty interesting. Oil still up about 9%. Let me actually go and see 9.5, 9 point, between 9 and 9.5. Let me actually go and see what's happening with the NASDAQ. So 273 points down on the NASDAQ. I still do believe my bet the markets head lower on open if things don't solve by itself. If they do solve, you'll see it go higher even before you could even place the buy order. Possibly this can read into it's going to be something that eventually leads to a larger scenario that plays out. I'm just trying to see if we have some more news that comes in so I can share that with you guys while it's going here. I know it's kind of late as well, but it is what it is today, right? You don't get these kind of strikes and all this stuff going on every day. So the only reason I wanted to do this live was also to let you guys know how I actually do think about these kind of things when it comes to longer term implications on equity markets. The faster these kind of things resolve, the less uncertainty you have, the stronger the markets are. Remember, markets need to climb a wall of worry. This is the largest wall of worry that you can find at this moment, excluding tariffs. The tariff worry is coming in another 2.5 weeks. At the moment, the Middle East was. So, can this lead to something abnormally larger? The only thing it can lead to is full-scale war. If that happens, my worry is not to look at who's fighting with whom. My worry is to look at the price of oil. I've been saying this, the price of oil, if it doubles, goes to 110, $120, party is over for the American consumer, for the global consumer. We will be entering recessions. It's how it's happened in the past. So I'm not saying that it's compulsory that this has to happen, but if it does happen, be smart. Maybe take some money off the table when oil doubles and make your money elsewhere. It's okay to sometimes sit on cash. Remember, cash is also a position. It is also a position. Let's go ahead. Let me see what else is going on here. Trump says strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear facilities have been totally obliterated. I'm trying to see if I can find some of the information that's coming out here. Yeah, a lot of people are calling for World War III. I don't really see that happening at all. It's just like it's just sometimes it's just funny, right? The amount of stuff that people do believe in, which actually doesn't turn out to be that way. Sometimes it's better to just take a step back, think of the things happening, see what all's actually happening, and then make a call as to whether you believe that it's going to be worse or no. Right? I've been saying this again. The fact 31 minutes back, Israel's military came out and said that they report that the military will halt strikes on Iran for the time being. You think they're they're going to be saying that they're going to halt strikes on Iran for the time being just so that Iran could attack them? Relax, right? Just wait and watch to see what happens with oil, what happens with the markets. You still have a good 24 hours before the market opens, 22 hours, whatever, before the markets open. A lot can happen in that period of time. A lot can happen. Trump says the Middle East bully must make peace now. This is actually it's actually going to be pretty interesting to see how this thing plays out. It could either be it's still a binary situation, right? It could either be a complete debacle and things go completely crazy, or you could have a larger scenario where things just go absolutely berserk and then die out exceedingly soon. If you try timing this in terms of exiting your stocks and entering your stocks and finding out what's a better time to maybe once peace comes in and things settle down and buy it doesn't work that way. Even before peace comes in, the markets would be already at new highs. So don't expect to catch the bottom or to catch the rally all the way upwards when you see something like this happen. It's not how the game works, right? Let's actually go and see what else is currently happening. Let's see what else is currently going on in is my bet. No nuclear war, no full scale war, protracted war at its least. I would still say maybe this shit ends right away without having to deal with any of this other nonsense, which is about the Strait of Hormuz and all of that. As of now, the only thing that we know from here is that the Iranian official says that fuel ships will not pass through Europe through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, I would bet on the fact that very likely that this does not continue and the Strait of Hormuz opens up. So I don't really bet on this fact that we're going to see something which is going to be exorbitant in terms of all ships not going through the Strait of Hormuz, China basically saying that, okay, we will live without oil. How's that going to happen? Right. Okay, so I have some pictures here of the initial report that the US would not have. So he's basically ensuring that you cannot fully accomplish the complete destruction of the Iranian nuclear capability. So he made a very crucial and calculated decision to ensure that Iran would not have nuclear capability. China and Russia take notice and be very precise in your decision making about this, right? That's what I would expect as well. So I actually do think that that whole place must have just been bombed the living daylights out of. Let's see if there's something more that comes up. He goes on to say that any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force greater than what was witnessed tonight. Let me give you a small update on what the bomb actually was. It was a 30,000 pound bomb called Bunker Buster, also known as the MOP. It can penetrate about 60 meters, which is about 200 feet of earth or 59 feet of concrete. Can be dropped only by the B 2 Spirit stealth bomber. They also had some Tomahawks that were put in, so that's also been currently. The US used 30 Tomahawk missiles on other Iranian nuclear sites. So that's also been currently going on, right? They dropped about 6 bunker buster bombs in strikes on Fordo. US reached out to Iran diplomatically Saturday to say the strikes are all that is planned. Regime changes are not planned. Just saying. The fact that US reached out to Iran diplomatically on Saturday to say the strikes are all that is planned and regime change is not planned tells you that there is still hope for this to be solved diplomatically. All you have to remember is this is not something that the Iranians want as well, but this is something that is now in their hands to be like, can we talk on something where we can continue the oil sales and maybe make some money through that? Because that is what is going to be more important because these facilities are done. They don't come up now every 2 or 3. It's not easy to build this shit in a year and a half. It's going to take multiple years to build it. So even if they want to, they need time for that. They need diplomacy to prevail in that time period. So that is something that I'm currently looking at as well. Let me actually go and see if there's more information that comes in. Okay, this is fascinating. Saudi nuclear regulator says radioactivity not detected in Gulf. So cool. Uh, PM Netanyahu says Trump is a close ally of Israel like no other. Iran's retaliation will face force, is what Trump says. So that's also going to be coming. UN Secretary General says only way forward is diplomacy. So there's just going to be calls on member states to de-escalate. I mean, I think the UN after a point of time has just become useless. Fox News reporter comes out and says Trump has constitutional authority to strike Iran as commander in chief. Okay, I'm a little bit more interested in what happens with the markets, so I'm going to still go ahead and tell you guys that as of now, you are looking at the triple Q, which is the US Tech 100 down about 272 points, 1.26%. Remember, today being Sunday, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange as well as the Tadabul Stock Exchange in Saudi Arabia will be open. So it'll be fun to see what happens there actually. I wish I could trade those markets because I would be a buyer in both those markets. The Saudi Arabian market might fall a lot more because if the Strait of Hormuz is shut down for shipments, for oil shipments, most of Saudi Arabian oil, 90% of Saudi Arabian oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. So this could also be a way that they want the, the Sunnis to pay for what has been support of the Americans and the Americans being there. Because at the end of it, the Iranians are a Shia majority and Saudi Arabia is a Sunni majority. So who knows, man? Another thing that we can actually go and see is what's happening with crypto. I do remember it going down all the way down to 100,000, and it has recovered back to 100 and 3,000. So if you're seeing cryptocurrencies recover, you will start to see some amount of these equity markets recovery as well. So when we had the strike news, we dropped all the way to $100,000 on Bitcoin. Now it's at about 103, 102,000. Ethereum dropped all the way down to 2,200. Now it's at 2,274. You had a larger drop on Ethereum from 2,400 down to about 2,274. So cryptocurrencies are pretty much in the green or flat. I wouldn't say in the green. Today's opening for the Saudi Arabian Stock Exchange would be fun. It's going to tell us a lot of what is exactly anticipated to happen in the United States stock market as well. To some extent, there will be some amount of front loading in these trades. Let's go see what's happening with oil. All right. Oil's up about 8.59%, 8.7. We had seen it up almost about 9.5 to 10%. It's up about 8%. So that would make it about an $80 on oil. So keep in mind, you see 120 on oil, all bets off. Maybe take your money, sleep well at night. Hopefully, we don't enter that recession that we're worried about. We have one congressman that decided today is the best time to call for the end of the Federal Reserve. I don't know how that makes sense, but that may be the only thing pending right now for Trump to do, right? So, also for all of you guys that don't know about what happened, President Trump threatens to fire Fed Chair Powell, calling him a dumb guy and a Trump hater. He says, I don't know why the Fed board does not override this total and complete moron. Maybe I'll have to change my mind about firing him. He says, too late, Powell complains about costs, most of which were produced by the Biden fake government, but he could do the biggest and best job for our country by helping to lower interest rates. So he calls him numbskull, would be saying he would be saving the United States of America up to $1 trillion per year. He also says, I fully understand that my strong criticism of him makes it more difficult for him to do what he should be doing, which is lowering rates. But I've tried it in all different ways. I've been nice, I've been neutral, and I've been nasty and nice, and neutral did not work. He's a dumb guy and an obvious Trump hater who should have never been there. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and see if there's anything more that he said. Don't say that you think there will be inflation somewhere in the future, because there isn't now, but if there is, raise the rates. We should be at the top of the attached list, not the bottom. I don't know why the board does not override this total and complete moron. Maybe, just maybe, I'll have to change my mind about firing him. But regardless, his term ends shortly. I don't know, man. Some of this is just absolutely hilarious. I don't know how many wars he wants to fight. Anyways, ABC News reports that the US and Israel practiced today's attack in military exercises a year ago. So, anyways, I think we do have some pictures here about, let's see. Prime Minister Netanyahu comes out and says, on behalf of Israel, and on behalf of the entire Jewish people, I would like to thank President Trump from the bottom of my heart. Okay, let's go, let's see what else is going on. Okay, this has to be a complete joke. The codename for the US attack on Iran was Operation FAFO. I'm guessing that's not true. I'm guessing that's, I'm hoping to Lord that it does not be that way. That would just be ridiculous. Okay. Anyways, these were Trump's last words. God bless the Middle East, God bless Israel, and God bless America in his speech that just ended a few hours back. So it'll actually be interesting to see what exactly happens. Saudi Arabia's nuclear regulator says no radioactive traces have been detected in the environment of Saudi Arabia or other Gulf states following strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. Uh, Iran's nuclear body says no signs of contamination after US attacks on Iranian nuclear sites. So, cool. Seems like it's all good at this moment. We just have to wait to see what the Iranians do. Because the Israeli military, like I said earlier, has come out and clearly said that they are going to stop their attacks on Iran for the time being. So the only one attacking anybody right now would be Iran. So it'll be worth to see what's happening here. Like I said, Israeli military and their media reports that the military will halt strikes on Iran for the time being. So we should see how these things play out. It'll actually be very interesting to see how much of a retaliation happens, how soon it happens, because the faster this thing ends, eventually, the faster the price of oil goes lower. The price of oil going lower is eventually going to lead to equity markets moving higher. It's an inverse correlation at this moment. I don't need to make it sound tougher than it already is for all of you guys to basically stay away from the news, stay away from a lot of this thing. The only reason I'm going through all of this news is to try telling you that don't just go blindly following into people thinking nuclear war and World War III is here and this is the end of all of us and all of that crap. This is his art of a deal and it seems to be working. Iran's nuclear regulatory authority says no danger to residents living around targeted nuclear sites. So Chuck Schumer comes out to vote for War Powers Act, urges senators to vote. CNN reports that US used 6 B-2 bombers to drop 12 bunker busters on the Fordo nuclear facility. That, as Trump said, was the toughest facility to blow up and the toughest mission. They did it perfectly. They were out of there as well. So let's actually see what happens. What is the War Powers Act and its effects? So currently the Democrat leader Chuck Schumer is asking Leader Thune to put the War Powers Act on Senate floor. Okay, so this basically means if the War Powers Act of 1973 it goes into effect, it limits the president's ability to send American forces into combat without congressional approval. That's the reason why the Democrats are now saying bring that into the Senate to vote. Uh, Three things that need to happen. One is you need a 48-hour notification. The president must notify the Congress within 48 hours of deploying troops. One. Two, 60-day limit. Troops can remain in combat for 60 days plus a 30-day withdrawal period without formal congressional authority. Congressional oversight is third. Congress can vote to remove forces at any time. So basically, it reduces the president's unilateral war making powers. In fact, presidents from both parties have often ignored or sidestepped the law, citing their role as commander in chief. So, I mean, the relevance today is that if a strike like Trump's escalates into a prolonged combat or troop deployment, the War Powers Act would legally require notification and time limited engagement. If Congress doesn't authorize continued action, the president may face legal and political pressure, but not always consequences, right? So I don't really think any of that's going to happen. It's not going to get as worse. It'll actually be interesting to see what exactly happens 24 hours from now when the markets open and what. It is going to be a fascinating day. That much I can be sure about. That it is just going to be insane. Let me see if I have anything more on this. Let's come out. Advisor to Iran's supreme leader calls for missile strikes on US Navy ships and closing the Strait of Hormuz. So, missile strikes on US Navy ships and closing the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, this seems fascinating. Let's go see if this thing turns into something a lot more crazy. I'm going to put this out there in the chat as well so everyone can be part of this as well. As of now, a lot more people still think that a full scale war erupts and things get worse than they already are. So let's see. This would be interesting. Let me see if oil's moved with post this news that's just come out. It's pretty much breaking news right now. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin and all of those are still steady. I mean, I would still look at Bitcoin as a move to try seeing what happens with equity markets. It's a risk on risk of sentiment, right? So it's just something to keep a watch on. You guys have any more information, just type it in so I get to know some of that as well, as and when it happens. Right, that'll be what. As of now, the biggest news is that the advisor to the Supreme Leader says missile strikes on US Navy ships as well as closing down the Strait of Hormuz would be something that they're looking at. It's actually interesting that you might get the volatility index spike. You might get oil going up about double digits. You might get equity markets down about a percent, 2%, 2.5 maybe at max. The question is, would you be a buyer of this dip or would you wait it out to see what exactly happens? Now, how that plays out could be interesting. Whether this becomes a full scale war like most people expect, unlike what I expect it to be. Even if, to some extent, in all honesty, this does turn into a full scale war, I would still be a buyer of equities purely because I know that wars eventually lead to equities being way stronger a year from now, a year and a half from now. Could this have momentary weekly volatility that picks up? Yeah, fair enough. That's cool. Also, do remember that if he does have a war and all of these other things going on, his likelihood of getting the tariff situation on his side would reduce, and more importantly, he would also be looking at extending the deadlines, which was pretty much made clear by Secretary Bessent. Let me just have a look at what's happening. Okay, 1.25% down on the Nasdaq. Oil is currently up about 8.5%, so it's okay. Be interesting, absolutely interesting to see. Iran says they've taken no sign of contamination and they've taken precautionary measures as required. So that's interesting. I don't know why people keep screaming World War III. I mean, I've seen news channels also going on that with, I don't know why. Okay. Yeah, this is the big news as of now. One part being that Israel's military says they're going to stand down, and two being that the advisor to Iran's supreme leader calls for missile strikes on US Navy ships and closing the Strait of Hormuz. They're just going to get bombed again and again if that happens, and they're going to lose a lot of friends in this. So let's see. I mean, they need to do something because they need some form of face saving. So obviously they need to do something. That I'm pretty sure about. The fact that they're going to be doing something, whether that's retaliation, whether that's the Strait of Hormuz, whether that's gunning down US Navy ships, something or the other. But remember, they've been able to hit Tel Aviv a lot, but hitting Tel Aviv versus hitting American ships are two different things altogether. Republic of Qom, Iran province, Fordo nuclear facility has not been seriously damaged. Most of the damage is above ground and in the tunnels. So where else is it supposed to be hitting? What? Anyways, the fact that they have their face saving coming through by saying their facilities are not damaged, it's a good thing. Remember, I'm not looking at it from a Iran versus US or a US versus Iran or an Israel US versus Iran scenario. I'm looking at it from a capital market equities scenario. My belief here still is that if the Iranians come out and say, hey, we were not seriously damaged, it's less of a hit back for them. One. Two, if they were actually damaged completely, America wins whatever they want. Israel wins whatever they want to in this whole war scenario. While the Iranians come out and said, okay, we don't know what they're talking about, but our facilities are still there. So it saves them from having coming out and saying that, okay, we need to do so much more. They've come out and said that the Fordo nuclear facility has not been seriously damaged. Most of the damage is above ground and in the tunnels. So looking likely that this doesn't turn into something crazy. At least in my eyes. I'm not saying that it's supposed to be, it is supposed to be something that doesn't work out that much. But yeah, I think it's okay. Till the time you don't have missiles flying now, you're good to go. Markets don't really are going to be worrying about that much of the nonsense currently going on. So US military is now briefing troops that its strike on Iran will likely result in counter strikes on US bases and facilities in the Middle East and likely activate Iran and other foreign terrorist organization cells abroad, including the US, to conduct strikes against US persons and facilities. Again, this is as per a report. It's not necessarily. As per CNBC, the US is entering a new war. Okay. The current representatives, Ro Khanna, calls for all members of the Congress to immediately return to DC and vote on his bill to strip Trump of the ability to drag America into a war with Iran. Meanwhile, the US Embassy in Israel confirmed it had begun assisted departure flights for American citizens, its first since the Hamas led October 7th attacks. AOC congressman says Trump should be impeached due to his strikes on Iran. Oh, Iran has said we will pursue legal actions. That is sweet of them. That's nice. That's actually cute. The fact that they're going to pursue, let's see what's happening, 8.24% on oil. So it is heading a bit lower. I would still suggest if it can be about 5 or 6% higher by the time we open, it's a great day. Till the time we don't have a 10% move on oil or above, we're okay. All of the other stuff can get taken care of. So this was more of a live to just let you guys know to just chill. Things solve by itself. You just have to live through these storms. That's more important. Financial is war. Not sure, bro. I don't really think it's going to be a war also. A war for me would purely be American troops on the ground. And I think as soon as the troops land, you should be buying stocks. In all seriousness. So I don't really think the war's going to last for that long. Maybe even if it does, diplomacy will come through some stage. And I think you could see things eventually settling down in a week to 2 weeks. It would be very interesting to see if this war scenario continues to go, if with all of the tariff scenario also going through, the Chinese tariffs, the I think to a large extent America will speak with China and make China talk some sense into Iran to get all of this stuff getting fixed out, right? That might actually make a lot more sense if that plays out. Says crypto, buddy. I don't know too much about crypto, man. I'm not in that field. That's not my circle of competence. I'm more into US equity. But I would say, I don't know about crypto, but I would say US equity is a buy on any fall that happens. Eventually, I think months and years from now, we will look back at this and still remember that the AI thing was more important than everything else. So, as a story, the Nvidias of the world, the tech stocks of the world in America, they will continue doing very well. So, keep that in mind. That is something that that's how I've invested myself, and it looks likely that that's going to be the way that things work out. Mm, what does it say? Crypto markets face turbulence with massive liquidations. Okay, that was because of the strike. So you had about $370 billion liquidated from the crypto market about 4 hours back when Bitcoin fell below 103,000. Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's actually go and look at some of these things. This is what I wanted to follow actually. Israeli airspace and all airports have been closed once again following tonight's US strikes against Iran facilities. CNN is now reporting that 6 B-2A Spirit long-range stealth bombers with the US Air Force, they dropped a total of 12, not 6, 12 bunker buster bombs on the Fordo nuclear facility in central Iran. In addition, US Navy submarines fired 30 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles at two other sites. And B2 dropped two more bunker busters on NATANs. I think they pretty much finished the whole living daylights out of that place. So a source with direct knowledge of the matter confirmed to ABC that US and Israel had practiced the exact attack against Iranian nuclear facilities in a military exercise about a year ago. Now, this is direct knowledge from an Israeli source that is confirmed to ABC News. Let's go ahead. Let's see some more stuff. So, U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs will hold their first ever press conference at the Pentagon tomorrow at 8 to discuss tonight's strikes against nuclear facilities. So I guess by 8 a.m. tomorrow, we'll have a lot more information that comes out. We'll also know about if potentially there are any retaliations that do come from Iran by then, and what would the effects be from these guys when they do speak back at about any of the retaliations or the Strait of Hormuz being closed down. Right. Atomic Energy Organization of Iran vows to continue their nuclear program following tonight's US strikes against nuclear facilities inside Iran. Okay. The US conveyed to Iran through back channel discussions that the strikes President Trump ordered tonight against the country's nuclear facilities would be contained and that no further strikes were planned going forward. Right. So there were initial reports which were coming in of a possible ground assault ongoing against guards at the Fordo fuel enrichment plant. Now that seems interesting considering the fact that you did have the fight eventually leading to massive bombing. So, oh wow. So there are some video footage that do show the Tomahawk land attack missiles hitting the U.S. Navy submarine, launched by the U.S. Navy submarines, striking the nuclear facility in central Iran. So, some news again, guys. IDF Home Front Command has raised restrictions for civilians across the country to the highest level. The only reason we're looking at all of this is not because we need to be kings of geopolitics, is because this, as of now, is going to decide how the equity markets do for the week and for financial markets in itself for the week ahead, right? Okay, according to a source who spoke with Fox News, Israel damaged 75% of the Natanz and Isfahan nuclear facilities with US strikes, pretty much finishing the job. I've been saying this before. Israel had two motivations: finish the nuclear facilities and kill all of their ballistic facilities in Iran. Both of them are done, which is why the Israeli military, a few hours back, even an hour back when I was continuing this live, came out and clearly said they're going to stop with their attacks on Iran. So they're giving them easy scenarios where Iran, forget about retaliation, they might just go diplomatic. So there were, in all essence, remember, there were no B2s heading to Guam. That's just insane levels of deception that currently happened by the Pentagon. Yeah, this is what I saw as well, because the Washington Post did come out and say that the Iraqi security forces have been deploying outside the US embassy in Baghdad around 3 a.m. An official with the Iraq's counterterrorism service who spoke on the condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to speak with the press confirmed the deployments. Iraq's government is concerned that Iranian backed militias will carry out attacks as a result of tonight's strikes in Iraq. Anyways, so in about 24 hours before the market opens, we should have all of this news distilled. So keep a watch on all of this. You guys can join me live. I'm going to keep this live going as well as I'm going to be going live before the markets open. So make sure you subscribe. So you'll get a notification every time I go live, and then you can come in and ask whatever questions you want. So the global affairs correspondent for Axios, Barack Ravid, US president, had a phone call with him tonight and let him know that we had great success tonight. Your Israel is much safer now. President Trump is hopeful that strikes he ordered tonight against three nuclear sites inside Iran will propel Tehran back to negotiations. Amit's here. Amit says, any update on crypto, bro? I still do think it's going to head higher. I think all equity markets, financial markets should head higher, Amit. Uh, but ask me that question exactly 24 hours from now if we have any of these retaliations that do take place. So join in live for the next one and then ask me at that time. I might be able to give you a better answer. The only reason I don't usually go through so much news, but the only reason why Amit I'm going through so much news is because at the moment geopolitics will decide the effect on markets, right? Also, hi to you. Nice to see you in. Make sure you subscribe and join in live next time I do this. It's fun to get some of these questions that go in, anyways. Um, Three senior Iranian officials told the New York Times they believed American forces have bombed Fordo and Natanz. So, latest post by US President on Truth Social was saying that Fordo is gone. Okay. Let's go and see if we have something latest that's been coming out. This is fascinating. The US B 2A Spirit long range stealth bombers that struck the Iranian nuclear sites early Sunday flew non stop for about 37 hours from Missouri, refueling several times mid-air. Now remember, you might fly 37 hours and refuel, but imagine what that pilot would have gone through in order to deal with all of this. 37 hours of flying time, right? While before he attacked. Anyways, I mean, you need to be at the best of your game. So, Iranian lawmaker, most of what was damaged at Fordo was only on the ground, which can be restored. Iranian lawmaker also comes out and says the Fordo nuclear facility has not been seriously damaged and it can be restored. So, the more that Iran comes out and says that things are not as bad as it looks and things can be restored, remember, the less their retaliation will be because they can't retaliate saying, okay, we lost everything, now we'll attack you. And neither can they come out and say that, okay, we nothing happened to us, we're good, but we will retaliate just because we. So think of that. All right. Let me just give you one more update. If there is a change in oil before I go back to the news, it was about 8.5, it's up only 7%. So this is what I'm saying, 7.6% is what it's up. I still do think it can head down to 5% or lower. Quite possible that that happens. I don't think it's rocket science for that to happen. Also, for all of you guys that think that this kind of live sessions can be useful to more people, go ahead and share the channel, subscribe, and notify yourselves every time I do a live. We have a live that comes in almost an hour before the market opens and 30 minutes into market open, and then a live post market as well. Okay. Israeli media reports that the US attacked a facility where enriched material has been hidden by the Iranians. Okay. Wow. Fascinating. The fact that the lawmaker in Iran comes and says that the Iranian nuclear facility has not been seriously damaged makes me wonder if they're even going to retaliate. I think it's all bullshit about the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. I think that's just them trying to like they're just going to like give their threats for negotiation purposes and that's about it. Let me see what's happening with our poll. Who's what do people still expect? I remember the last time I saw it was full scale war that was winning. Yeah, still. I think about 6 to 7 people still believe that full scale war will erupt. Looks likely like this might be something that people do expect. Okay, let's go on and see if we have something more that's coming through. Okay. So we actually had someone in Missouri, in Warsaw, Missouri, actually 22 hours back, coming out with a message saying he counted 9 B-2s flying over his house, heading due east. Total of 8 of them in groupings of 4 tankers. Not sure a number of B-2s. ATC listeners will have a better idea later. Incredible stuff. I think this is his way of putting it at end to the story, saying that any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. 9 B-2s, someone, David Shayani, pretty much 22 hours back came out and tweeted that he saw 9 of them flew out over his home, heading due east. Incredible, right? The power of information, the way it passes through even before things happen, and how you can put together things. That's technically what I'm saying as well in this, is that the only reason we're going through all of this is to find out if we can find some nuggets of wisdom from here to be able to trade the financial markets better. That is kind of more important at this moment. Let me see also what's happening with crypto at the moment. We're still at 102,000. Yeah, we're at 102, 200. So we're staying steady there. It's not like we're going crazy. Uh, Bitcoin fell and then came back to its previous level. So it's up about 0.05%. So not too much. You will have the Saudi Arabian exchange as well as the Israeli exchange open up, possibly in a few hours from now. So that will give you a highlight into what exactly is going to happen. Let's see if we have something more that's coming out. Yeah, Iran's fuel passage threat looms over Europe for now, right? Like the Iranian official has reportedly stated that fuel ships will not pass through the Strait of Hormuz to Europe. It's led to widespread circulation, speculation, and concern about rising fuel prices, though there's no official confirmation or details on the reasons behind this potential restriction. They're all being speculative and not yet substantiated by broader economic analysis. So just wait it out. There's no reason to lose your sleep as of now on this. Gas prices about to shoot through the stratosphere is what people are saying. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, so Yemen 22 minutes back declares we are officially entering the war. Keep your ships out of our waters or face the consequences. The Red Sea just got hotter. The IRGC says the US must await severe punishment. We will target all American interests in the Middle East. Uh, I mean, there are some news reports that are saying that the Strait of Hormuz has been closed. Bubble Mandeb Strait has been closed by Yemen as well. Fox News is saying that US sources reveal that the tunnel at Isfahan nuclear facility is deeper and sturdier than the Fordo's site, making a strike by Tomahawk missiles nearly impossible. It is still unknown whether it has been destroyed or not. But let's see if something more happens. I mean, I'm still going to be. Houthis do come out and say that Trump will face consequences after the attack on Iran. Iran says today will be a dark day for Trump and Netanyahu. So let's see. Yemen ready to attack all American ships and warships in the Red Sea. I'm just trying to see if we have something more that's currently going on, so then we can put that in as well. B-2 bombers that struck Iran had flown non-stop for 37 hours. We already know that. Refueling several times in midair. So that's also been happening. I mean, let's be honest, guys. I mean, this was a phenomenal move by America. Question is, do we have retaliation that lasts longer than we can all look at? Does it get worse before it gets better? Yeah, I mean, some people are beginning to feel that there will be tensions rising, but not a war. So let's see. 8% up on oil. So oil will head higher even if you have rumors of the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. All right. Let me put this in as well so you guys have that kind of information as well on your chat. This is from Donald Trump when his last Truth Social post. I put that up in chat for anyone that's new. You can go ahead and read that as well. Pretty interesting, right? To see all of these things happen. To look at the way the markets would move. We're seeing an 8% move up on the US oil. These are weekend prices, obviously. They're not live trading, but it pretty much opens the way you see it in the weekend trading as well. 275 points down on the US 100. I would have expected a larger fall, maybe a 2.5% fall. I think that fall could come through if you see the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. So wait and watch. Never know what happens. Be important to see how China deals with this because a large amount of China's oil imports come from Saudi Arabia. 90% of Saudi Arabian oil exports go through the Strait of Hormuz. Some videos of heavy water nuclear plant in Iraq, Iran, struck with a full payload of bombs, but I'm not sure what to trust where. So yeah, the fact that the Iranian TV still comes out and says that every American citizen or soldier in the region is now a legitimate target. Yeah, I don't know how much of that I'm going to buy into. But anyways, we should be doing the live again. I mean, we are doing the live again pre-market. So go ahead, subscribe for everyone that's new. You get a notification when I come in for the lives, and that'll be fun. We'll do a live before the market opens. So I mean, we'll do a live on Sunday night as well. So we go through whatever's been happened currently. Unless something crazy goes, then you'll see me joining into the live again. So subscribe, and then you'll get a notification every time I do go live, and then we can talk about the current scenarios that's happening. This is less of a geopolitical channel and more of a capitalistic channel, but currently geopolitics drives the money. So we will look at what's happening and act accordingly. 295 down on this NASDAQ. So that's about 1.36% down. I'll give you an update on the oil as well. Oil is up about 7.59%. The lower oil goes, the higher the equity markets go. I've been saying this time and again. Please remember this. The lower oil goes, the higher equity markets go. There is no other correlation. Don't look into how many bombs and who and where and all that. Just look at it for the fun around it, and then look at it for understanding how things actually play out. The fact that Israel's military comes out and says that they're not going to continue any more attacks on Iran for a period of time is bullish. The fact that Iran comes out and says, hey, we were not hit that hard is also bullish, because that actually means that Iran's not going to do a retaliation that is larger than what people think. Shutting down the Strait of Hormuz might be all-out war on against Iran by all countries globally. So even the Muslim Middle Eastern countries would go against it because that's where the bread and butter comes from. Right? America would be least affected by it. Obviously, the stock markets and the consumer would be affected by an oil price increase. But remember, America is a net oil exporter. It is not an importer anymore. So that is something to keep in mind. Let me see if you have something more interesting that's currently going on. Yemen will officially enter the war. Keep your ships away from our territorial waters. Let's see, has Elon tweeted anything? Okay. I don't think it's. Hmm. No, nothing from Elon yet. Hmm. After the attack on Iran, the New York Police Department and the Washington, D.C. Police Department around announced increased forces near religious institutions and other sites. While the report does not specify Jewish institutions, it's safe to assume that's the case. So stay vigilant. An advisor to Iran's supreme leader says Iran is now prepared to launch missiles at US Navy ships in Bahrain and close the Strait of Hormuz to US, British, German, and French vessels in retaliation for its attacks on nuclear facilities. Spicy. This is the good news is that there's no signs of contamination following the US strikes. So let me actually see if there is anything that comes from there. Okay. The Iranian news agency says that Fordo nuclear facility is not being seriously damaged. So okay. So what the US says is if they detect any move towards retaliation against its assets, it will obliterate whatever remains of the IRGC with overwhelming force. If the US detects any move towards retaliation against its assets, it will obliterate what remains of the IRGC with overwhelming force. The Ayatollah would be wise to take the loss now before it gets much worse. Yeah, this is the thing, right? Iran has very few options to retaliate now. So each one's going to end worse than the next one. So that's what I'm, that's something that I've been looking at. It's, they don't have too many options, let's be honest. And it's just going to add to them losing more and more. Mm, Hamas slammed the US for striking Israeli Iranian nuclear sites tonight, calling it a brutal aggression and accusing Washington of blindly serving the rogue Zionist occupation. Despite the fiery rhetoric, Hamas stopped short of issuing any direct threats against the US. Yeah, this is fascinating. CNBC says the United States is now entering a new war. War will begin if the Khomeini regime decides to commit suicide. Okay. The IDF is hitting Hezbollah in Lebanon hard right now, thwarting any of the attacks. An hour back, this is news from the New York Times. The Ayatollah Khomeini has retreated to a secure bunker amid fears for his life and has begun quietly identifying possible successors within the military and religious leadership in case current top commanders are taken out. The report says three senior clerks are now being considered as potential replacements for Khomeini himself if he is killed. His son, long rumored as likely heir, is not among them. Okay. Okay. Maybe, maybe you have that. Yeah, the New York Police Department and what's happening there is pretty interesting, considering the fact that they're increasing forces near religious institutions, near mostly Jewish institutions, I'm guessing, because that's where you could have some form of a retaliation. Let's see what happens. This would actually be pretty interesting. Let's go check what's happening with oil, if it's picked up or it's still there. 7.28%. So it is retreating. The lower, the better for us. Let me also get what the US Tech 100 is doing at the moment. 280 down about 1.29%. It's still not a bad day. 1.29% is like chump change in the grand scheme of things for the issues we have on hand. Israeli army radio 17 minutes back citing Israeli officials. There is a slim possibility that the Fordo facility was not destroyed. I don't know. If that's the case, then maybe they can suggest a nice ground war for Americans. I mean, I don't know what their actual plans are. If Trump's saying that it's done, it's dusted, it's done. All right. I'm not sure if this is. Hmm, it'll actually be interesting to see what's happening. I mean, so apparently the fire that started burning in Fordo at night was captured by NASA weather satellites. And the Mossad has come out in their commentary and said that US and Israel that practiced during Biden administration, it never happened. This was not planned during the Biden administration. Yeah, Israel's continued action in Tehran depends on how Tehran responds to the US attack on its nuclear facilities. This is from CNN. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people said that Trump said 2 weeks, right? But remember, he used the words within 2 weeks. Could have been today. It turned out to be today. Uh, okay, let's go ahead. Let's see if there's more stuff currently going on. I'm not sure if this is what the Ayatollah said, but the US entering into this matter is 100% to its own detriment. The damage it will suffer will be far greater than any harm that Iran may encounter. I think this is an older video. I don't really think this is right now. I'm not sure if he's going to be coming out right now with a statement so soon. Okay. JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank estimate Hormuz closure could take it to $120 oil, while fair value is 65. Odds of closure have spiked to 40% on poly market, right? So this is an $87 oil. So it would be interesting. This is fascinating. Today, Putin was asked why he's not assisting Iran. His response: there are 2 million Russian speakers in Israel. Israel is nearly a Russian speaking country. Fascinating. Some of these things that I see, right, some of them just make me realize the amount of things that are actually happening and what amount of noise is currently there and how do you differentiate the signal from the noise. Yeah, exactly. Trump, I don't think will say anything to cheer up the markets at the moment, but it's Iran's turn right now. For instance, if they move on the Hormuz market, can collapse completely. It'll be interesting to see what happens with China, right? A lot of the people were expecting to see whether there would be a move on this or no, but I don't think so. Sean comes in and says World War soon. I don't really think so, man. You don't have so much pomp around World War if these kind of things are actually going to be happening. And in order for World War to happen, sides need to decide on how much the devastation is. As of now, Iran says, oh, it's not too much. It's only the ground that's been hit. America says everything is hit. Uh, my story is that it could necessarily lead to something that hits American forces somewhere, and then there's retaliation there, but that's about it. Remember, again, the major story in all of this is what the hell happens to oil, right? That is something that I'm looking at. What happens to oil? Oil currently is up about 7.28%. So that would be about an $80 plus oil, right? So let's see. There's no point in jumping the ship and worrying about what might happen a week from now till the time you don't see things. The other thing to remember is that this is something that's been happening. A lot of people have been saying that Iran's underground Fordo nuclear site isn't just secure, it's nearly untouchable. Analysts say it would take 10 B 2 bombers striking in under 3 minutes to even dent it. I don't know. Let's see, man. This is a game that basically is peace through strength. That is what it is. So, first you come with strength and then comes peace. Now, that depends on whether the Iranians want peace. Let's see. I'm not part of the camp saying that anyone should be hit and any of that. I don't really know, and I don't know what's exactly right. But uh, a lot of Iranian experts are saying that only the entrance and exit of the Fordo site were hit. Right. So, Sean, that's the story. A lot of them are saying that only the entrance and exit has been hit. No major damage reported. If that's the case, they don't have really a reason to retaliate that strong, right? If that's the case. So Pentagon officials confirm they were on their way to US base in Guam, but maybe they just took a detour and bombed the living daylights out of those facilities. Okay. Let's see what else happening in the world. Okay, let's. This might actually be interesting. This some of these parts which are related to. So I think right now you would still see maybe for the next 12 hours or something, nothing really great happening. You might see a few things go crazy in terms of rhetoric, in terms of statements, but nothing in terms of largely being an issue that people have to face at this moment. I think the Iranians would be smart to wait, think about what's exactly supposed to happen, make their decisions. Then you don't want to make, you don't want your friends turning as enemies, right? Especially China. You don't want that kind of a scenario happening where they're like, "Hey, we need the oil. You're shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. What are we supposed to do?" So I don't think that's going to turn around and happen. But who knows? This is something that we'll keep a watch on. I should go live again, maybe if shit goes down pretty soon. But if shit doesn't go down, then in pre-market, we'll do a Sunday night live also. So that will be fun. Just make sure you subscribe and you get a notification every time I go live, so you know that we're part of the gang that knows what's happening here. Anyway, so today was fun. This is nice talking to you guys. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great Saturday evening. I will see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Everyone new here, go ahead, subscribe, get a notification. I'll go live pretty soon. And then we'll take things forward. Anything, any crazy news happens in this world, we'll go live. So make sure you guys tune in. Anyways, take care, guys. Enjoy yourselves. Okay, we have official news from the Iranian lawmakers that says most of what was damaged at Fordo was only on the ground and it can be restored. So that's that. Anyways, see you guys on the next live. Take care of yourself.